From the #1 best-selling author of Life Rescripted, you're now tuning in to the Year of Purpose podcast. I'm Zephan Moses Blacksburg. Emily Filloramo is a Be More Extraordinary magician and the author of the book How to Permanently Erase Negative Self-Talk So You Can Be Extraordinary. Emily guides you to unleash true greatness and quantum leap your life through permanently erasing negative self-talk, fears, and limiting beliefs. She's a graduate of Cornell University. Her professional trainings include internal family systems modality of psycho-spiritual healing. Wow, this is quite interesting, Emily. And self-leadership and neurolinguistics programming, NLP. Emily, thanks for being here. That is quite an interesting background you have.
Yes, and if you had asked me, did you know when you were growing up that you were going to end up being an author and a Be More Extraordinary magician? I'd be like, what?
I'm in the same boat. I tell people, if you told me 2 years ago I would have had a book, I would have said you're drunk.
Yes, well, even how the book materialized, which was just 20 minutes talking to a total stranger at a reception in New York City, it turned out to be a publisher.
That's funny how that works,
Yeah, and so, one of the messages that I share when I do speak about, well, how did you manifest that? I said, well, you know what? When you believe in yourself and you believe that there's a bigger reason why you've been put on this planet with all of your gifts and all the negative experiences you've been going through, and you believe in how you're supposed to make a difference on this planet, then you don't really have to worry about how you're going to get to the goal, because it's all going to be orchestrated by a higher power and you're going to be at the right place at the right time. And that's exactly what happened.
There was something on your website that really resonated with me in regards to that. And you said something along the lines of turning your mess into your message. It's kind of like the whole turning lemons into lemonade, but I think it really resonates so much more when you say turn your mess into your message. Is that something that you tend to tell people quite often?
Yes, absolutely. Because I solely believe, Steve Jobs famously said this during his Stanford commencement address. He says that you cannot connect the dots of your life looking forward. You can only connect them looking backwards. So we have two choices. We could either blame our past for all the negative things that we have, blame that we didn't have perfect parents or enough money or that nobody liked us at school. Or we can take the lemons that we have been dealt with, and all of us have been dealt with some sort of lemons, and make a more positive story out of what is the meaning behind this. Because all these negative experiences have been purposely given to us for the evolution of our souls. And so what kind of story are you going to reframe so that you could say, wow, my difficult childhood was really a gift because I learned this, and now I could use my mess to give a message out there to inspire other people and help other people to come to a better place.
Yeah, we've really been hearing a lot more lately about, reframing your mindset on your story. And this is something that I think is going to start to become more mainstream, in that far too many people are afraid to share their experiences and what has happened to them. And the funny thing is, if you look back into our culture just as a humanity, back when we were hunter-gatherers and in tribes, all we did was tell stories all day. I mean, look at some of the biggest religious pieces that we have, whether it's the Torah or the Bible, they're all stories, and that's how we learn. And I think somewhere down the line we forgot to tell stories and to share our own experiences with other people so that they could advance their lives too.
Yes, and we forget to tell the stories, and we also forget to be vulnerable because we're so afraid about what are people going to think of me? Oh my God, if I share that I'm scared, or if I don't dress the right way or look the right way, what are they going to think of me? Are they going to kick me out of the tribe? It's like being back in high school again.
Yeah.
And so you're living the adult version of high school because you're not able to share your deepest fears and insecurities. And that leads us to living lives of quiet desperation because we cannot express.
Yeah, well, so I'm sure that you were prepared for this, but I'd like to dive a little bit into your story and hear about some of the things that you've been through and what you've learned out of them, because I know that you have a son and a husband, and you've been through quite an extraordinary journey here. If you wouldn't mind, could you share with everyone tuning in a little bit about, what happened when ultimately you started the business that you're in now?
Yes, yes. So I am an immigrant. I came from Taiwan when I was 9 years old, and so we came to Los Angeles, then New York, and so I had to assimilate into this culture, and so especially when I was in junior high and high school, I suffered a lot of discrimination from being Asian. So the New York City public school system wasn't very kind to me, and then some of that discrimination continued into college. Then what happened was, I had these perfectionistic and overachieving parts that helped me to achieve when I went to Cornell and helped me to land a very nice pharmaceutical job that was able to, provide a nice income and benefits, all that stuff that we're supposed to be doing when we grow up. So, so I got married at 26, and then at 29, while I was pregnant, 5 months pregnant, my husband suffered a heart attack. And so that kind of turned my life a little bit upside down because for the next 15 years, it wasn't easy because he had several health issues and was constantly, back and forth to the hospital. And here I am raising a baby at the same time trying to take care of a husband and not being able to quit my job because I had the benefits and there wasn't enough life insurance should something happen to him. So all of those fears were what I was operating under. So basically, looking back, I was living in a coma and just living life as it was expected of me. Go to work, take care of the family, and buy nice stuff for the house, just so, make it look like that you belong. So 27 years later, after working for this pharmaceutical company, I was laid off in 2011. And I did not see that coming. I just kept hoping, okay, hopefully this is it's not my turn yet. I'm close to retirement, close to getting that big fat pension, and lo and behold, that's not what the company had in mind, and also the universe. And so after not materializing a job for 5 months, somebody had planted a bug in my ear that said, "You really need to be an entrepreneur. You have all the skill sets. I've watched you for the last 20 years." And I said, "What?" Never had I even thought that entrepreneurship was even on my bucket list. But I went in and I dived in as a nutritionist because that's what I studied in college. It made sense. And a year and a half into coaching nutrition clients and trying to, figure out programs and all this digital marketing, I said, I hate this. I hate telling people how to eat their green beans and drink their green smoothies because they're not really addressing the real burdens that are holding them back from believing that they deserve to be confident and beautiful and trim and all that stuff. Because at the end of the day, if you many people who have trouble with weight, there's low self-esteem underneath. We don't even know it. All of us have parts of us that feels not good enough. And that's what drives us into some of these bad behaviors and bad feelings and anything that we don't like about ourselves. Such as like too much eating, drinking, shopping, procrastination, anger, depression, sadness, anything that is a bad habit, behavior, or feeling. Those are all, we go into an extreme because of our wounds. And so I fell into this training called Internal Family Systems, which is an evidence-based modality of permanent emotional healing. And I ended up coaching someone that I met at a networking group, and this guy had miraculous results. He says, "You spent 2 to 3 hours with me, and that was more powerful than 20 years of therapy." I said, "Oh my God!" And then he went ahead and like manifested $20 million in assets in his new business. And I said, "Whoa, this is like so powerful. This is my soul's calling." And so from morphing from a nutritionist into this space as a Be More Extraordinary magician, because clients started calling me a magician. You're not a coach, you're not a therapist, you're a magician that turned me into the most extraordinary version of me. I finally feel good about myself. I can't even get my old self back. Now I'm fearless and courageous, and I have the resilience to weather the storms, and I feel really good. And so I saw that people rising in their vibrations through believing in themselves is what helped to manifest their opportunities. And it's the same thing that I've done with myself. Because, 10 years ago, because I had swept all the baggage under the rug and not addressing my past, 10 years ago, I fell into a deep depression for like a year. Depression, anxiety, PTSD. And I kept saying to myself, what is the meaning behind this lemon that I've been dealt with? Oh, it's painful. When you're going through something that's painful, you're like, why me? So that's the message about turning your lemons into lemonade. And I just trusted then that, okay, somehow this is going to make sense in the end. I don't know what it's going to mean. And now 10 years later, after launching into my business, I said, wow, that was the biggest gift that I have ever been given. Because it gave me, it gave me the gift to heal, and it gave me the insight that everybody has emotional skeletons. And
Well, I think
yeah,
it's so important too to mention that because you've gone through this and experienced this yourself, I think that makes you probably one of the best mentors or people who can help create that transformation in others. We see far too many coaches and people out there right now who haven't actually been through this themselves. And so it's like they
exactly.
don't really have the resume to be teaching it to someone else. It's one thing to read it out of a book, it's another thing to have done it in your own life and then to be able to help others do the same.
Exactly. So that's what I tell my clients. I said, look, I'm a few steps ahead of you. I have no business in coaching you. Have I not experienced and manifested my own, the book deal, an ideal business partnership, and just all of these opportunities that are coming up. And there's and I have several others that I'm working on. It's all because I've done my inner work to erase my negative self-talk, to fully believe that I'm living the soul and the spirit of who Emily Filloramo is. And that I could show you how you can manifest. I can't do it for you, but when I get you to believe in yourself and come home to your true self and fall madly in love with you, that energy of self-love is what's gonna help you to manifest. And clients, just like the one with the $20 million in assets, that's a story. I have one client who was just in such a bad spot for 6 months, not materializing another high-paying job. It was a very prestigious profession that he's in, and he had been trying to work on himself for years and trying to buy into all these big guru programs that were not working. And he finally realized that he needed to work with me. And after working with me for about 15 hours or so, within 2 weeks of finishing with me, he manifested 3 ideal job offers.
So with the results that are happening for you, I'm sure a lot of people are listening in and they're like, so what is it that you're doing? Because you're able to create such a huge and powerful transformation in such a short period of time. And
Hmm.
it seems like it's a lasting transformation. We
Yes.
talk all about these retreats and conferences and events and things you go to, and you feel great at the conference. The first day you come back and you feel pumped. And then, if you look at yourself a week later, you don't have that same energy. And so it sounds like you're doing quite the opposite of that. It's a very consistent energy throughout. Could you maybe share a little bit more about what it's like to work with these clients and what you're actually working through with them?
Yes, I'll give you an example. So let's say what we do is we'll look at where you are now versus where you want to be. This is just a typical coaching model, and then we identify what are the beliefs and the fears and the behaviors that are holding you back from getting what you want. And a lot of it is, I don't feel I'm good enough. I'm afraid of success. I'm afraid of failure, or I eat too much, or I shop too much, or I'm perfectionist. I'm a perfectionist, and I procrastinate. And so we go in through the doorway of these protective mechanisms. So these are called protectors in the internal family system model developed by Dr. Richard Schwartz. And so you look at the results that you don't have, because when you don't have the results, that means you haven't taken the right actions. And you haven't taken the right actions because you have feelings and beliefs about yourself, the tape that's running through your head. Oh, I'm not smart enough. Oh, no, I don't have enough experience. And so where are those voices coming from? Those voices are coming from beliefs that were downloaded and programmed into you as a result of significant emotional events. So the traumas, the little traumas and the big traumas that you've experienced either through mom and dad or through at school, you never felt accepted. You brought home the B and it wasn't good enough. Mom always said, "Where's the A? How are you ever going to get into a good college?" Or mom and dad divorced. And so those young parts of us, because when these bad things happen, we make story out of these events, and these stories create the beliefs. I must not be lovable enough, and that's why mom and dad divorced. Because our brains are like sponges when we're young. We can't make meaning out of these adult situations or these bad situations. So we all we could do is really make meaning of I must not, it must be my fault. And so those parts of us get frozen in time. And these little guys, the little boys and the little girls, they are the ones that are holding down on the brakes of the bus of our life. We're trying to push down hard on the accelerator to try to lose weight or get another job or find a better love relationship. But these young parts of us are the ones that have stories, the voices. Who do you think you are? You want a better boyfriend? No, you're not skinny enough, good enough. So you end up attracting the same abusive patterns, the controlling boyfriend, the ones that don't treat you right. Because the little girls inside of you are actually not believing that you are good enough to attract someone that treats you right. So we go in through the doorway. The part of me that doesn't feel like, let's say, a lot of people have a fat part. Because in order to overcome your fat part, to get skinny for good, you got to fall in love with your fat part. Because your fat part, I'll give you an example of a real story. We got to know this 40-year-old woman's fat part. And this fat part said, no, my job, so what's your job? Fat part has a job. What is it afraid of if it doesn't do its job? And what would it rather do if it didn't have to work so hard to keep you fat? So what I'm going to be describing, people can actually download these steps for free. They could go to nonegativetalk.com to get an immediate download of the steps that I'm going to be describing. So you go in through the fat part. Okay, fat part, how long has it been around? Oh God, this fat part's been around. You externalize the fat part. You separate out this fat part of you. And some people get image. Oh my gosh, this fat part looks like the Michelin man, the roly-poly Michelin man, or the Pillsbury Doughboy or Doughgirl, whatever it is. And you invite this fat part to talk to you, to say, what is the job of this fat part? Okay, to keep me fat, to keep me eating, to bury the emotional pain. Okay, what is it afraid of if it doesn't do its job to keep you fat? Well, let's see. If it doesn't keep me fat, then I might get too confident, and I might get noticed by men, and I might stand out, and my girlfriends wouldn't like it because they would get jealous. So it's afraid that the girlfriends are going to let's call her Susan, kick Susan out of the tribe, because Susan is friends with other people who suffer the same thing. And okay, fat part's afraid that she's going to stand out because she feels really good about herself, and that means Susan's going to speak up. She's gonna turn heads when she walks into a room, and fat part says that is not safe. And we say, okay, fat part, which part of Susan are you protecting that says it's not safe to stand out? And fat part then showed us a memory of second grade Susan, who she had beautiful red hair, and she was always teased for her red hair by her classmates, by her friends, by the bullies, and by her siblings and her cousins. So she was always teased for standing out with red hair. So this young part of her just took on the belief that it is not safe to stand out. So this emotional pain of feeling that it's not safe to be you, not safe to stand out, has driven. So the part that used to eat healthy kind of turned, and she started to eat a little more sugar, a little more ice cream ever since a kid. So she had weight struggles all along as a child and into adulthood, and she was always gaining and losing the same 20 pounds. And so I had to guide her to rescue the second grade part of her out of that classroom. And because that second grade part of her was still stuck in that belief of getting made fun of, and to show that, oh, Susan's no longer 7 years old, she's 40 years old with adult resources, and that fat part is actually holding her back from expressing her true self, because she needs to express and be confident in order to unleash her best self.
So it's almost like you have to go on this archaeological dig, in a sense,
yes,
to go back in time and really ask why, and then ask why again to that answer, and then ask why even once more to that answer, until you really get down to a point where you can't ask why anymore, but you've figured out what it is that's the cause of it. And I know that it's kind of like a no more Band-Aid type thing. We can't
Yes.
just Band-Aid over the wound. Let's look at why you fell down and scraped up your knee in the first place, and then prevent that from happening. Maybe that means you were wearing the wrong size shoes. Okay, well, once we determine that, then you don't get yourself scraped up anymore because you start to wear the right shoes. And I think that the trouble is people have oftentimes found it's hard to do that for themselves, right? Like, it's really tough to go through with that inner voice and question yourself, because you won't always get the answers, unless you work through it with someone else. Is there any way in which someone can, I know you offered up a great resource for them to download. Can they talk themselves through this? Should they be journaling or writing it down on paper? Like, how should they go through this if they're just trying to get started and get the ball rolling?
To get the ball rolling, that report that you could, that ebook that you could get, Soaring to Your True Greatness: The Magical Steps to Permanently Erase Negative Self-Talk, which people can get through nonegativetalk.com. If they follow the prompts, follow the questions, and then they journal what the answers are, you could do some of this work by yourself and learn about your fat part, or learn about the part of you that's afraid of success. Learn about the part of you that is afraid of failure. Learn about the part of you that shops a little too much. Whatever it is, because it has a job that it's doing, and it doesn't know that you're an adult with adult resources now. Because essentially, when you keep digging, that bullet that's underneath, that Band-Aids, is usually a little girl or a little boy that's underneath.
Yeah, I mean,
Now,
it's kind of like the story has a bunch of missing parts, because when we were kids, since our brain wasn't fully developed, it wasn't seeing things for what they were. It's almost like we put a fake meaning to dad or
yes.
mom, yelling at us for not getting straight A's on the report card and things like that. We almost come up with something that's entirely not true. The point was they wanted to push us to do better, and they might have had all well intentions. We took it as we weren't good enough. And so
Yes.
I can totally see how, that kind of stays with you for sometimes decades, until you really reach down and figure out where that is and what's going on, and get to the bottom of it. And I'm sure that a lot of these things that happened when we were younger play out into the other areas of our life, even if we don't realize it too.
Yes, absolutely. Because your results are a reflection of your beliefs. So if you don't like the results that you have, and you hear this from all the big gurus, the Tony Robbins of the world, and essentially you're never going to rise above how you see yourself. Yeah, so you're never going to rise above your beliefs. And so if you have any voices, even if you try to push through it, I'm going to push through, I'm going to do this, I'm going to follow this program. Well, that's just consciously trying to push through. So consciously trying to do something is only 10% responsible for your results. 90% of it is all these beliefs and fears that you don't even know that you have, that is controlling your actual results. And so for example, celebrities, politicians, or whatever, sure, they have great money and fame and all that stuff that some of us wish for. But when you look at their whole life, they may have all the money in the world, but look at their health. Look at their what kind of addictions do they have? Unresolved addictions. What are their relationships like? So you can look at those areas and say, are those areas rocking and rolling at 100%? And if it's not, then those again are reflections of the demons that are underneath that are still not addressed.
Yeah, I think that everyone's kind of got a couple of skeletons in their closet, right? Like, it's a matter of whether or not you're willing to dive into that. And it's definitely going to be an uncomfortable space. So as we kind of circle off this episode, Emily, what's the best way to prepare yourself for moving into that uncomfortable space where you're probably going to learn some things about yourself that you don't really want to hear, but you need to hear?
So here's the thing that I've gotten from so many readers of my book that people can buy on Amazon or their bookstore, How to Permanently Erase Negative Self-Talk So You Could Be Extraordinary. They said, my God, this was not another self-helpless book. You went so deep with all the stories that you shared. had chapters on relationships and fears and health and how and what this internal family systems model is all about. And so you went so deep. Now I understand as I read the stories. As I read the real stories that you have in there, I saw myself in so many of those stories, and now I get it. I get why I still don't have the results that I want. I may have been in therapy for many, many years, and that got me stable, but that is not enough. I need to do this cleanup duty of rescuing all of these parts of me out of the past, get them off the brakes of the bus of my life. Because when they get rescued out of the past and you befriend the parts of you that you hate, they will transform into a new job. So that part will become like the healthy part. And then you rescue that 7-year-old that I just gave the example of out of the past and loved by you and taken care of by you. Then all of these parts of you become your inner team. So they become the inner team that helps you to drive the bus of your life forward. They get off the brakes of your bus and they become the happy passengers on the passenger seats of your bus with cheerleading pom-poms in hand, because now they're going to encourage you and give you the support that you need as you go up to the cutie pie at the bar that you never thought that you deserve, or go for that promotion, or go to that networking meeting that you had been dreading because you were afraid to talk to people. Now, when you do the inner work, these parts are going to give you the courage, the fearless courage to believe in yourself so that you can go outside of your comfort zone and manifest magic. Because you must go outside of your comfort zone if you want your life to change.
Yeah, and I bet it's got to feel good once you've kind of built up that team, inside that can support you, because it's really a team of yourself.
Yes, yes.
You're relying on yourself here to make sure that you are okay, and that you can also check in on yourself when you don't feel okay. And Emily, this has been such a great conversation so far. As we round off this episode, what's the best way for people to find out more about what you do? And if you could remind them again of that link so they could get that free resource from you.
Okay, they could get the free download, nonegativetalk.com. And then my book, How to Permanently Erase Negative Self-Talk, is available on Amazon in the bookstores. And if they want to get a hold of me, they could go to emily@bemoreextraordinary.com.
Awesome. And are there any, final parting words for anyone who's tuning in and still is unsure of, how they can get rid of this negative voice in their head?
So the first step to change is awareness. You don't know what you don't know. And it's just been so gratifying when people have told me, wow, your book really opened my eyes. So get the download, the free download of the steps. You'll understand what this is about. And then if you're interested, you could always buy the book. Because people say, wow, I've been blaming myself for being a loser. Now I realize I am not a loser after all. I've been to big guru programs that I get pumped up and nothing has changed. Now I know I have to do the work. And now I know exactly how I have to do the work.
Yeah.
So first step to change is awareness, and this is going to give you the awareness so that you could get on the journey to unleashing your best self.
That sounds awesome. Well, Emily, thank you so much for being here today. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much, Zephan. I really enjoyed being on this interview.
Hey everyone, it's Zeph. Did you like this episode? Be sure to subscribe so that you can tune in next week and tell a friend about the show. If you want access to free training and exclusive interviews on success, happiness, lifestyle design, and adventure, visit me at yearofpurpose.com. Until next time, go out and let life surprise you so that you can live a life rescripted.